So it looks pretty good though to start like that. Yeah. I would, maybe if anything to the trot there in the beginning here, just like the littlest tick slower in the rhythm, but still thinking nice and big in the trot. And the only reason I say that littlest bit slower there is just to keep seeing if you can kind of convince a little more length of stride. That's already better there on the short side. They're always tricky like that where they don't, or when they don't want to connect completely, kind of. So I find with young birds you have one of two types when it comes to the contact in the beginning. They either just take it and can be a little rude about it, or they don't want to touch it. The ones that don't want to kind of take hold as well, those are the ones like we talked last time where I find they're actually a little bit trickier, because the ones that take hold of it, you take hold back and start working with it right away. This type you have to really find a way of convincing them to move out to it. They have a lot of times that tendency to get us because you have to drive and you have to kind of say, I need you to move to the contact. They'll sometimes end up in a place where they kind of, the trot itself can get, or the canter itself can get a little too forward or a little too fast, which isn't a bad thing at first when we're saying you need to just take a hold of the bit. Like you need to take me and just go down the long side and give me a nice drawing, pulling feel through your body. But as soon as you start to feel that with them, checking in on the rhythm, in the case now of the trot, of going, is it the right speed to really allow the swing and the looseness in the back? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better. Good. And then they get to that point like now where you just start to kind of play a little bit at the speed, and you start to separate your driving aids out, where you go, instead of just saying go forward, I'm going to start to really separate this driving aid where one type of aid could say move your legs faster, generate more RPMs, and the other could say generate more length of stride. And so what you're after now, which is way easier said than done, is going, I'm going to just very slightly slow down the RPMs, no more than that, no slower than that. I'm going to just slightly slow down the RPMs, but in doing so, I'm going to keep driving and pushing because I want the length of stride bigger. So I'm going to increase miles per hour, just like an automatic transmission in the car when it shifts up to the next gear. The RPMs come down, but you're actually still accelerating miles per hour. So that's kind of the idea, is getting them to just make that next shift where the RPMs can come down, but the stride is growing. No tipping down in front.
I feel it's a little tougher to the left. Is he crooked?
Might get a little twisting there in his body. I wouldn't get too involved with it. I mean, I wouldn't ignore it, but I wouldn't let it change the issue of going, because why I say that is I really look at the rhythm, like in my training scale, that rhythm, suppleness, contact, straightening, impulsion, collection, right? That's kind of my progression. So looking at them going right now, like that work where I was saying I want to just a tick, like slow down the RPMs, but push the miles per hour for more for length of stride. We're talking about connection still. Rhythm, just setting in a good tempo that he works at, that's not changing, into the suppleness where his body's free of resistance, into the contact where I can start to manipulate length of stride versus speed of stride. So with that being said, if he starts to get crooked or twisty in his body, my resolution of that really lives in the straightening work, which is my diagonal aids, my lateral work, shoulder ins, things like that. So if he's still a little elusive in the connection, I'm just going to wait that out as best I can. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to say I'd never try to push a little shoulder in or a little diagonal aid through him to help correct it. I just don't let the emphasis come off of, I want you to pull on the bridle, reach big strides over the ground with relatively slow RPMs. That my emphasis is going to stay on that. Good. Good. Push big over the ground. That makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I always kind of think that's got, if I can find a way, if I look at that training scale progression, if I'm working, in this case, I'm really focused on the connection right now still, but I can find a way without losing any of that focus to manipulate the straightness or manipulate some impulsion or some collection in, great. I just don't make it become my focal point until the one step ahead or, 2 steps ahead is really solid. Good. Definitely better connected though than last time. Like way more taking a hold of the contact.
Yeah.
Look,
Feels better.
yeah, less bouncy looking in his back, and more like, and I think that's the best expression is, it looks more like he's taking you down the long sides instead of just trotting underneath you,
Right.
and you take him down the long sides. He looks like he is actually productively and politely taking hold of the bit, stretching through his body, and actually pulling through the length of his body to generate length of stride down the long side. Yeah. Nice with the cadence. Yeah. That's an idea, getting more length of stride, kind of developing without the speed of the stride getting faster. Very good. Right on the verge of speeding up there, but that's not, I wouldn't necessarily back off right away. I'd just go, that's my limit though. Where you have to be aware of that and careful is, if that's my limit and I keep pushing a little bit and they fall out of balance, then they do just start to run and kind of tumble, and I'm going to lose my contact, because then his neck's going to have to adjust to help hold his own balance. Good. Yeah. But I like that short side, especially kind of, it was right at the verge. It didn't cross the border though, but it was right at that verge. You're kind of pushing the comfort zone and going, this could be even bigger. Yeah. Nice into the contact. Even though he's looking a little bit, that's the feeling in the hand he's got to give you more and more of over time. Gently, and like I would say, politely, they have to take a hold of the bit like that. Nice. Good. Good. It's that way of arching where the neck goes out, the pole comes up and the neck goes out like a telescope, and they pull on your hand. It's that.